What started as one guy with a tow truck is now turning into a full dealership. After weeks of grinding and fighting rivals, Honest Motors finally gets its big break. Let's see how far we can push it, jumping over ramps and visiting parts of the map we haven't seen before. The sun rose over Honest Motors, casting a golden glow across the banners swaying gently in the breeze. The air dancers flopped wildly near the lot entrance, welcoming the new day with their frantic, cheerful flails. My tow truck sat ready by the shop doors, and beside it, the next project that we will work on today. It was day 13, and the dealership was already buzzing. I rolled up my sleeves and got to it, scanner in hand. I circled the vehicle, front end mostly. Alright, let's start there. Brake rotors off, caliper replaced, wheel back on, spin it around and repeat. The rhythm was almost soothing. Replace, reassemble. The new update made the work smoother. No more dizzy zooming in and out every time I touched a screw. That alone felt like a gift. Piece by piece, the Phantom Gale came together. By mid-morning, the suspension was done. The shocks were snug, and the last of the bolts had been tightened down. I lowered the lift. The engine roared to life with a throaty growl that echoed across the lot. That's what I'm talking about. One more ride saved from the scrap heap. But there was no time to rest. The repair machine in the corner blinked green. Finished? The parts I'd tossed in last night were now fully restored, waiting to be put to work again. I pulled the fresh components out, sorted the ruined ones back into the machine, and set the timer running. Across the yard, Bartek, my part-time hand, was already standing idle. I checked his progress. Nothing left for him. Time to unassign him for the day. Thanks for the help, I said, logging him out. By late morning, the lot was taking shape. One car stood gleaming ready for sale, while two more waited their turn. I pulled up the scanner again. This sedan had potential. Purchased at $14,000, now valued at $19,000. Not bad. With the right touch, I could squeeze a profit out of it. Work blurred into hours. By noon, I was knee-deep in exhaust pipes and suspension pins. Mufflers swapped, manifolds replaced, shock absorbers tightened into place. The screw gun whirred like a song, parts clinking into place faster than I'd imagined in earlier days. I was finding my rhythm now, assembling whole sections in one sweep instead of bouncing between modes. Time was precious, and I wanted to get 3 cars on the lot before the sun dipped behind the hills. At last, the sedan stood complete. Every fuse, every caliper, every bolt checked and double-checked. I wiped the sweat from my brow. Good enough for the lot. By mid-afternoon, the second project was halfway done. The repair machine hummed again, freshly restored parts stacking neatly in my inventory. But autosave decided to test my patience, lagging the system, halting my flow mid-turn of the wrench. I cursed under my breath and kept going. By 4:30, the car was reassembled, running clean. Not perfect, but ready to sell. Evening arrived, and with it, the moment of truth. I pulled out my tablet and snapped the photos. The Apex Motor Striker, the Phantom Gale, the Off-Rider Canyon, each gleamed in the fading light, polished and proud. I listed them all online, prices just above market value. Then came the haggling. The Apex sold first, Market value $3,769. I pushed it up to $4,401. Deal struck. One down.
Okay.
The Phantom Gale was tougher. She countered hard at $21,499. But I inched her higher, settling at $25,900. Not bad at all. 2 sales before closing time. The canyon, though, refused to budge. No one came before the lot lights flickered on, signaling the end of the day. 2 cars sold wasn't bad. Not bad at all. But the day wasn't over for me. I hauled the last car, the Thunder, onto the lift, stripped it bare and prepared it for tomorrow. Then, with the tow truck rattling along the back roads under starlight, I chased down a rusted Harmonia, negotiating it down to 10 grand. A risky buy, but worth it.
Alright.
By the time I shut off the engine, staring up at the star-filled sky, and pulled back into the lot, it was nearly 1 a.m. I was checking an email thinking this was a great deal, and I had the budget to buy one this time. While I was checking the email, that old familiar ring came letting me know that my rival was back. Luckily, I was able to track him down just before disaster happened to my freshly repaired and cleaned Off-Rider Canyon. Tomorrow would bring new wrecks, new deals, and maybe a few more surprises. For now, Honest Motors was closed. Another day survived, another step toward building the empire. I headed inside, ready to sleep on this amazing couch, the alarm from my rival still ringing in my ears. Day 14, Sunday, held lots of promise, as there was a soft glow of a sunrise over the mountains. And I had one thought in my head. Dang it, it's Sunday. Please don't let me need parts today. It hit me as soon as I stepped outside. The parts shop wouldn't be open. It was Sunday. If the game hadn't patched that yet, then I'd be stuck with whatever I had lying around in storage. But before I could worry too much about that, I spotted a little brown dot on the map. That had to be the wreck Ken Knox mentioned in his email. Curiosity buzzing, I fired up the tow truck and headed out. The roads twisted through Winston Springs, a part of the map I'd never seen before. Cabins tucked into the trees, families picnicking by still ponds. It was a scene I could have sworn belonged more in a postcard than on a car dealer sim. And there it was, an old Apex Motors, sunken into the roadside like it had given up long ago. I backed the truck up, fighting my less than perfect driving skills. Ramps clattering down as I finally coaxed the wreck onto the bed. With the mountains glowing pink in the distance, I thought, man, this game can be beautiful. Back in town, I nearly clipped another car at an intersection. My driving reputation is questionable, but made it safely to the shop. Bartek, my worker, wasn't doing much, mostly because I'd unassigned him yesterday. I paid him his $20 fee, reassigned him, and dumped the Apex in his bay. 4 minutes and he'd have it fixed. Easy money. Meanwhile, I fueled up the truck. $59 gone in a blink, and went hunting for more cars. First up was a Zen Motors Journey. Market value was just under $20,000. They were asking $19,200. I started low. Way too low? At $13,500.
No, cat.
Bit by bit, we danced up to $16,666. Not bad at all. My forgetful mind forgot the cigarettes. The cigarettes wouldn't have sweetened the deal anyway. Next came a smaller deal. $11,000 car I snagged for $7,628 after some back and forth.
Okay.
The inventory was stacking up.
Good.
My lot would soon hold 4 repairables and 1 ready-to-sell ride. By 11 a.m., the shop was buzzing. Bartek worked through the cars at his steady 4-minute pace, while I shuffled them in and out of bays, washing grime off the old frames, tinkering with rotors and calipers, swapping batteries and fuses. The repair machine hummed, eating through bad parts and spitting out the usable ones, though at a cost that made my electricity bill hurt. Not every deal was perfect. That Apex Motors came in missing its engine and radiator, 2 parts I couldn't even touch yet. Now realizing I'd wasted my time hauling it back was a punch to the gut. I parked it off to the side, defeated. Still, wins came too. The Harmonia shined after a polish, its deep blue paint popping under the shop lights. The Zen Motors was lined up for bodywork, and when customers trickled in, I worked them with cigarettes and candy, inching them higher on their offers.
Good.
One Phantom Thunder, listed at $30,000, brought me $26,076 and a solid reputation boost. That reputation mattered. Level 8 meant I could finally hire another mechanic. At the rate I was going, 7 or 8 more cars sold might just do it. The day stretched into the night, and I spent the last hours chasing more deals. 3 more cars, 2 Phantom Thunders, and a cargo wage joined the lot. Negotiations went smoother this time. Each purchase leaving me with less cash, but more promise. By the time I dropped the last one at the shop, pedestrians had thinned from the streets, the town glowing under streetlights. I lined the new arrivals neatly for Bartek to tackle in the morning. The parts machine ticked down another 6-minute repair cycle. License plates ran short, only 4 left. I'd have to ration them. Bills were due, electricity costs from the machine biting hard into the profits. At midnight, with my balance hovering just enough to breathe, I dropped onto the couch in the office. Tomorrow would bring repairs, sales, and maybe, just maybe, a step closer to that second mechanic. For now, Sunday was done. Day 15, Monday. The sun had barely crept over Honest Motors when I stepped out onto the lot. Stretching my arms, Mondays always hit different. There sat my trusty old tow truck, rusted but reliable. Next to it, the blue Harmonia, its mechanical heart waiting for my hands. Across the lot, a dusty Zen Motors Journey glimmered faintly under a thin coat of grime, practically begging for a wash. "All right," I muttered to myself, rolling up my sleeves. "We've got a job to do." The hose hissed to life, and I grabbed the foam cannon. A blast of soap foamed across the hood. As the car began to disappear under thick suds, I thought, this is perfect. I haven't used the paint machine yet. I'd been thinking, a lot of the cars we've bought recently have been silver or white. It's not been by choice, just by circumstance. It was time for a change, time to throw some variety onto my lot. So, as the car soaked in soap suds, I throw it into the paint shop and change the color. Let's give this bad boy some personality. The real reveal won't come until I rinse it clean. But I think it's gonna turn heads. Let me know in the comments below what color you think I'm changing the car to. Meanwhile, my worker, Bartek, wasn't on shift yet. It wasn't even 8 a.m. So while I waited, I tackled another job. The sleek Phantom Thunder needed soap and shine, so I pulled it into the wash bay. Suds ran in rivers across the concrete as I scrubbed it down, humming along with the sound of the sprayer. For some reason, controls felt off today, having to get ever closer to the car just to select the mode I needed to use. It was annoying, but manageable. By the time I had slapped on the wax and polish, the Thunder glowed yellow from the X-ray tool. Admiring this color, I decided to send it to the paint shop and change it yellow, adding more color to my lot. The repair machine in the back pinged finished. Only 7 parts fixed. Better than nothing. That's when an email popped up on my tablet. A timed car deal? $8,250. My heart skipped. I checked my funds. $3,000? Close, but not close enough. I rushed to the bank menu, took out a $5,000 loan, winced at the new balance. $200 short. Dang it. So close. I even considered pawning off some spare parts, but it wasn't meant to be. I rejected the offer with a heavy heart, reminding myself there'd be other deals. By now, Bartek had finally arrived. I quickly assigned him to bodywork. How had I forgotten? He got to work while I rinsed off the Purple Journey, revealing a rich, glossy coat that shimmered in the light. Oh, that's perfect. Exactly what this place needed. As Bartek tore through his tasks with impressive speed, some cars took him less than 3 minutes. I lined up the next projects. Wash, wax, polish. A rhythm formed, steady as a heartbeat. Hours flew by. By mid-afternoon, all I had really done was wash cars. No sales, no major repairs. Still, the lot looked alive again. Shiny, colorful, full of character. I hopped into the Phantom Thunder and headed to town for supplies. License plates, fuel canisters, fuses, the essentials. On the way, I nearly collided with another car and watched another wreck happen right in front of me. This town's dangerous enough with me behind the wheel. As I pull into the station to fill up the canisters, I fumble with figuring out the pump. I figured it out, topped it off, and stowed the goods in storage. The evening air cooled as I decided to test one of the town's ramps. I floored it, the car roaring, and launched clean over the dealership fence, landing with a jolt, but no damage. I laughed. We're gonna have to try that with the tow one day. But, fun aside, there was still work to do. At nearly 8 p.m., I finally rolled up my sleeves for the harmonious mechanicals. Suspension pins, shock absorbers, mufflers, rotors, calipers. I dismantled and reassembled like clockwork. A couple wrong parts slipped in, but I fixed them. By the time the last bolt clicked into place and the battery dropped in, the car purred like new. I eased it onto the lot, careful not to scratch the tow truck, admiring the gleam of its fresh blue finish. Night settled fast. By 11 p.m., the shop lights burned alone against the dark sky as I cracked into the Zen Motors Journey's guts, pulling parts until my hands ached. Another day's grind, another dozen little victories. By the time I finally set down the wrench, it was past midnight. Day 15 had ended without a single sale, but I couldn't be mad. The lot looked sharper, the cars cleaner, the Harmonia fixed, and tomorrow's work already lined up. Honest Motors might not have been thriving yet, but 15 days in, it finally felt alive. Day 16, Tuesday. Admiring the sky as if it had been painted by an artist, with the purples and pinks and oranges that glowed across the horizon and the sun climbed higher. Clouds drifted lazily above the lot, a quiet contrast to the chaos that was about to unfold in the garage. The Zen Motors Journey sat stripped bare, every last part removed. That's when I realized I left the parts machine running last night. Its steady hum was still going, churning through a mountain of busted parts. By the time I jog over, the machine had just finished its cycle. Perfect timing! I swapped in the newly repaired components, tucking the fresh 100% pieces into storage, though the next batch already looked grim, reds and oranges across the board. 6 minutes, 37 seconds on the clock. The question was simple. Could I rebuild the car faster than the machine could split out parts? I dropped into assembly mode and worked like lightning. Right rear wheel done, left rear done, shock absorbers done, muffler, tailpipe, catalytic converter, resonator, all snapped into place. The front wheels and shocks followed. Then the suspension pins, fiddly as ever. Piece by piece, the journey came back to life. And just as I tightened the last bolts, I realized I'd beaten the machine. Barely, but still victory. I lowered the car and slid in the new battery and smiled as the engine purred. Another car ready for the lot. By mid-morning, I had 2 cars lined up for sale. Maybe even 3 if luck was on my side. The grind was paying off. The next teardown was brutal. Muffler, shocks, suspension pins, brakes, everything. But my screw gun was a game changer, chewing through bolts like they were nothing. By the time I gutted the car, the repair machine was still grinding away. I tossed the wrecked parts into the hopper and set myself another impossible challenge. 3 minutes, 30 seconds to reassemble an entire car. As the pressure mounted, suspension pins refused to cooperate. My temper flared more than once, but I kept at it. Then ding! The machine finished just as I tightened the manifold bolt. Another victory by seconds. By the afternoon, 4 fully restored cars gleamed on the lot. A blue Harmonia, a purple Zen Motors Journey, a silver CargoWise P4, and a yellow Phantom Thunder. Not a bad lineup. I snapped a few pictures with my tablet and threw the listings onto the marketplace, stretching the asking prices reasonably above market value. One by one, customers rolled in. Negotiations turned into small battles. Gifts traded. Cigarettes offered. Numbers nudged higher. A Harmonia sold at $24,500, well above market value. The Zen Motors Journey fetched nearly $38,000. The van went next, then the Phantom Thunder. Each deal boosted my reputation higher. By dusk, I was only 325 points shy of the next level. That was the real prize. The mechanic unlock. No more wrenching alone. No more all-nighters, hunched over busted suspensions. Just a few more cars to go. But first, bills. $6,600 gone in an instant. My bank balance dropping, though still strong at $116,000. Can't pay off the loan yet, but it will come. Night fell fast. I was still on the lot at midnight, disassembling another car under the glow of the moon. The stars spun overhead as I chased car deals across town, snagging a Phantom Cortega below value. Then leaping a fence at 70 miles an hour in a tow truck just for the thrill. Gaining speed, we're at 57, 60, 65, 68, 70 miles an hour, 71 miles an hour, And we leap over the fence. That is so incredible. We did it this time. Yes. Oh, we did it, guys. We did it. Unbelievable. Redemption at its finest there. Let's go. By 3 a.m., 5 more cars sat on my lot. Fresh purchases waiting their turn under the lift. I pulled in the final Zen Motors journey and shut off the lights. Tomorrow, day 17, would be the breakthrough. Reputation, upgrades, a hired mechanic. But for now, it was time to crash. 4 hours of sleep would have to be enough. Day 17, Wednesday, began with a heavy yawn. 4 hours of sleep is hardly enough. Still, the shop was alive. The parts repair machine humming in the corner, counting down the last 30 seconds of its latest job. Nearly finished, nearly ready. Bartek wasn't here yet. He wouldn't show up until about an hour later. That gave me just enough time to knock out the repairs on the car in front of me, piece it all back together, and then get him lined up with assignments for the day. 2 cars still needed to be brought back to the lot, a Zen Motors Journey and a Phantom Cortega. But first things first, let's shuffle the parts, keep the machine running, and try to stay one step ahead of the clock. Bad parts out, good parts in. The rhythm of it was almost comforting. This round would go quicker. The damage wasn't as severe. I hit the button and watched the timer tick down. 2 minutes and 52 seconds. Could I finish the last round of repairs in time? Worth a shot. The assembly began. Piece by piece, the car came together under my hands. By the time the last suspension pin slid into place, the repair machine had already beaten me, finishing its task with seconds to spare. Not bad though, I almost kept pace. I lowered the car, sent it back to the lot, and loaded another batch into the machine. With a minute and 46 seconds ticking down, I pulled out my tablet, tapped into the employee workstation, and hired Bartek in. Bills were paid, shifts were open, and now he was getting started. His first task? The red Phantom Thunder. As for me, I had different plans for the off-rider Boulder. Silver and white cars were starting to blur together. So into the paint bay it went. A splash of brown, a little change of scenery, and it was back in business. That left me with just one more step, bringing in the rest of the cars. The Zen Motors Journey waited across town, alongside a Phantom Cortega. Navigating the city streets meant dodging aggressive drivers and accidentally rolling down a stop sign. But eventually, both cars made it back to Honest Motors without a scratch. With $31,000 sitting in the bank and a growing collection of cars to sell, things were finally looking solid. Under the hood of the Cortega, the repairs turned out to be simple, just a battery swap. Bartek, meanwhile, finished his own assignment, and the car's value shot upward. Onto the lot it went, gleaming under the afternoon sun. Market value said $21,851, but I listed it for $29,061, putting it in the showroom just for extra appeal. Sure enough, a customer wandered in before long. After a little back and forth, and a well-timed piece of candy, the deal closed at $25,864, plus a boost of 151 reputation points. Not quite enough to hit the milestone I was chasing, but close. Very close. By then, it was past 1 in the afternoon. I washed cars, sprayed foam and water, waxed and polished, until they shone like new. Bartek burned through his assignments quicker than I could keep up. The man was fast. Too fast. Time, as always, was the real enemy. By 6 in the evening, I was deep into the reassembling of the Phantom Cortega, racing the clock to see if I could get it listed before closing. Piece by piece, the machine came together. Suspension pins, calipers, wheels, muffler. By 7:10, it was ready to lower the lift. Its final fix, a new battery under the hood. Photos snapped, ad posted, market value $27,178. Listed at $36,146. But the day was already too far gone. No buyers came before closing. So into the showroom it went, waiting for tomorrow. The night dragged on with one final push, loading parts into the machine, refreshing the inventory one more time. By midnight, the clock struck hard against tired eyes, and at nearly 1 a.m., the lights in the shop finally dimmed. Tomorrow was the big day. The day Honest Motors would finally bring on a mechanic of its own. No more racing against timers and endless reassemblies. No more losing hours to bolts, pins, and mufflers. Day 18 promised something new. Speed, efficiency, and maybe even the chance to focus on what mattered most. Buying cars, selling them, and building the reputation that Honest Motors deserved. With that thought, I shut down the workstation, the parts machine buzzing quietly in the background, and headed off to bed. 5 hours of sleep would have to be enough. Tomorrow was going to be huge. Day 18, Thursday. The big day. The air around Honest Motors was thick with a sense of promise, like the kind of day where things finally click into place. Bills were due, a loan hung over my head, but for the first time in weeks I felt confident. 2 cars stood ready for sale, one gleaming outside, the other proudly in the showroom. Between them, I only needed 202 reputation points. Just 2 sales and everything could change. With nothing urgent to fix, I turned to prepping the next car. I eased it into position, careful not to scratch the paint, and started lathering it with foam. But when I looked closer, I realized it didn't even need a wash. Just a wax and polish. If I'd have noticed this yesterday, I might have sold it already. A small mistake, but today would make up for it. It had to. By 8 o'clock, the gates were open, customers drifting onto the lot. I stocked my pockets with candy and cigarettes, my secret weapons for squeezing out those extra reputation points, and waited for the right moment. The first buyer approached. I was still rinsing foam from the car. But no matter. Deals waited for no one. Market value? $27,178. Her offer hovered close, but I aimed high. Let's say 35? Then worked my way down as she resisted. Candy sweetened the deal, but she wouldn't budge. Finally, we shook hands at $31,392, a solid profit, plus 151 reputation points. I checked the counter, just 51 more to go. The next customer smirked, as though he knew the power he held over me. My heart raced. I couldn't let this one slip. His first offer? $26,750. Sat below market value. I pushed him higher, back and forth, until finally, with a cigarette as persuasion, he agreed.
Alright, partner.
$28,870. Market value surpassed. Reputation secured. And just like that, Honest Motors is leveled up. The relief hit me like a wave. For weeks, I'd been wrenching under hoods, scrubbing cars, juggling bills, scraping by with every sale. But now, I had the cash to hire real help. I opened the upgrade menu with trembling hands. A full mechanical workshop, staffed and ready. $40,000 was gone in a flash, but worth every penny. My shoulders loosened as I realized I'd never again have to replace every worn part by myself. Paul became my mechanic. Karen, my car wash attendant. I sent Paul straight to work, instructing him to replace and repair everything in pristine condition. Watching him methodically upgrade a car in just 2 minutes felt surreal, like a dream I've been chasing since day one. Meanwhile, Karen scrubbed down another vehicle in under 2 minutes. Honest Motors, once a one-man show, was finally becoming the dealership I'd envisioned. My bank balance still held $29,000 after upgrades, enough to keep pushing forward. I leaned back, hands on my hips. We're just now touching the beginning. And it was true. Today, Honest Motors had crossed the threshold from struggling hustle to real business. Dreams do come true, though they still require a steady supply of engines, radiators, and clutches. But for now, with Paul tightening bolts and Karen washing down vehicles, I let myself enjoy the moment. Thursday is the day it all begins. If you guys made it this far into the video, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. And if you click on the bell for notifications, you will get notified when the next video comes out. And as always, hope you're having a great day wherever you are in the world.